I love the clapper. Makes it
Instead of
official.
doing this, people think it's all fucking legit. Like, it's literally $5 on Amazon.
Best $5 you'll ever spend.
Yep. So yeah, that's our intro right there. Okay, I'm gonna start off with an on-screen graphic on my laptop here. So by the way, I'm here with Collin McLelland. He is the founder of Collide. And you are on Chuck Yates' podcast this year and Rory with Not Your Story.
Yeah.
That's funny. And
I wonder if he meant to rhyme that like that.
I know, right? And so on Chuck's, you talked about like kind of like present day and future for Collide. And then with Rory, you told your backstory, and a really interesting one where you talked about going into like LinkedIn, like all bullish and like kind of changing the culture there.
Yeah.
Which I love. So today we're going to do neither of those and try to find new talking points. And I want to talk about energy startups. You can mention your own, and also just, this is meant for the people who want to start their own, basically.
Yeah.
And just startup people in general. This will be your good old advice, just spit facts the whole time kind of podcast.
All the war stories. From building startups.
Of course. So I'm going to start off with this image, and I'll pull it up on the edit. But
right.
Can you name these three people?
Bill Gates, Sam Altman, and Mark Zuckerberg.
Okay. Can you name these three people?
Who are they? No, I can't.
Well, that's the CEO of Coca-Cola, Target, and Amazon.
Okay.
Yes, Jeff Bezos is not the CEO of Amazon. So why is that?
That's man, you're putting me on the hot seat here. Yeah, there's a few interesting, probably facets to that, but you brought up Bill Gates, Sam Altman, and Mark Zuckerberg. What's the common denominator between all three of those things? Those guys, they're founders. They found their companies. Founder-led companies are the most special companies and the highest performing companies, and much different than, the CEO of Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola has been around for 150 years or something crazy like that. It's much different when you are a career CEO and climb your way up the ranks of the corporate ladder, which is a skill in itself, but it's much more of a political skill than it is actually knowing how to build and scale a company. And so people like myself would take more inspiration from someone like Mark Zuckerberg than they would the CEO of Coca-Cola. Like, honestly, there's not really anything that CEO of Coca-Cola could teach me or that I would learn from.
Well, hold on. You sure he's not the founder? This 50-year-old looking man? You sure he's not the founder of Coca-Cola?
I mean, the math wouldn't be mathing, there. And even like you look at this with Google, the founders stepped back from Google, and Google fell behind in the AI game. When Gemini came out, Gemini sucked. And it was super woke, wasn't accurate. And all of a sudden the founders come back in, and now Gemini is one of the best performing models. It's always the founders that are able to drive innovation and lead these companies. And so, when you look at it, it's like, why do we gravitate? Why are the books written by or about, Steve Jobs and Elon Musk? And, why is there not a book written, about the current CEO of Coca-Cola? It's because these types of personas were capable of building great things that didn't exist before. Now, not to say like, there's a book written on Disney CEO. Damn, why am I blanking on his name?
Iger?
Yeah, Bob Iger.
Bob Iger.
Yeah. And great book. And so, there are CEOs in certain instances where, they can really transform companies and lead companies and do great things. But that's the primary difference between those two sets of people that you showed me, and why I know the names of some. And honestly, I didn't even know the faces of the others. And frankly, I don't care either.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's totally the what I tried to get out of you, and that was my whole idea for sure.
I thought you were gonna pick some oil and gas guys and like put me on the hot.
No,
I don't know them.
I was like, I don't really know what I'm doing here, but this seems like a smart idea, and of course you killed it.
It was a good idea.
Yeah, so just keep doing that the rest of the show, and it'll be great. Okay, so another funny thing I want to bring up is that you've been doing digital wildcatters in Collide for 5 years, basically 2020, right?
Yeah.
And just for reference, it's almost Christmas time, 2025. So
I'd say even before that, I mean, we started the podcast in 2018.
yeah.
So, you could make an argument 6 or 7 years.
Yeah. 6, 7. Shout out.
6, 7.
We're going to get into that. We'll bring back like kind of that. But I kind of have this funny idea where, in 5, 7 years, you've kind of like, okay, I'm into Collide. We're doing this. I'm building my team. Here we go. In those years, you're kind of thinking of new ideas. And it's like, damn, this is like totally missing. It would be $1 billion idea. This is missing and people would love this. So what are those ideas? Are you willing to share any of them and give someone watching the next $1 trillion idea because you're too busy with Collide?
Yeah, I think some areas that I'm really interested in are power generation. And so I'll give you an example. A couple years ago, or maybe like 18 months ago, I don't know how long ago it was exactly, but I was looking at starting a natural gas turbine business, packaging up turbines that were essentially remanufactured turbines from like QE helicopters, because I had this thesis that oil and gas companies would become power generation companies and start providing power both across their own assets, but then doing power purchase agreements with like data centers, Bitcoin miners, manufacturing companies, things of this nature. And, got into it and I was like, you know what? I'm actually not interested in packaging natural gas turbines. I'm actually interested in, is there a better way to make a natural gas turbine? Like if you looked at it, all the nat gas turbine designs are from the 60s and 70s. And with the advent of 3D printing, I thought there had to be a better way. And since you've seen 2 companies pop up, one is Arbor Energy. And their team actually worked and built the original Raptor engine for SpaceX. That picture that we have in the hallway, they actually worked on that. And they've taken the technology that they developed through the Raptor engine to make a new age natural gas turbine. And then you saw Boom, I think their company name is Boom Supersonic. They're working on building the supersonic plane, and the turbine technology that they built for that, they are actually building into nat gas turbine technology. Signed a deal with Crusoe to power up one of their data centers. And so like when I look at it on a macro theme, I'm like, where does my personal interest lie? It's really at the intersection of power generation, compute, and AI. And there's so many different layers to what that actually means. But I think that power generation, electrification, space mining are all areas that are going to continue to grow over time. And I think like something else that's important to kind of tease out here is that the companies that I like creating are technologies that are going to have an impact on society and move the needle and move us forward. But that doesn't have to be every type of business that you build. I have a ton of friends that have built, oil field services, EMPs, just like traditional businesses. And so not everything, the lens that I look at things through, like I want to work on breakthrough technologies. But when I'm talking about like power generation, there's so much opportunity to start service businesses in that area. And just a million different opportunities that are going to exist within these industries. But that's where my interest is at the intersection of power generation, compute, and AI. And I just think that there's going to be infinite amounts of opportunity to build up businesses in those categories.
Yeah. So there's your free advice. I mean, yeah, if your focus is to like do something that actually changes the world or impacts a huge industry, then it's kind of a no-brainer. And that kind of goes into what we could talk about next, which is that gives you a story, right? So when you have to go pitch and tell this story, it helps when you have this amazing holistic thing and it's just something passionate, something someone's never heard before.
Yeah.
So for 5 years, I've heard you, I knew you back in like 2017 and now 2026 Collin is like, he's got like his dialogue tree down. I always say like, yeah. I hear you and all the other guys, like y'all kind of have your dialogue tree and
it's just clarity.
Yeah.
It's clarity. Right.
And it's like, I don't even think y'all practice, y'all just say it over and over again so much and y'all just sound confident and y'all understand what y'all are doing, it's like, it's just so funny seeing it grow in like this, what's almost a decade.
Yeah, you mentioned knowing me since 2017. You remember the picture that we have of that WeWork office where you wrote business on?
Yeah, I'll throw it up right now.
Yeah,
Edit.
yeah, I did. That's one of my favorite pictures because it really just kind of shows how far we've come in a relatively short amount of time. And when it comes to the storytelling, like, yeah, that story gets iterated and evolves over time. And like what you're explaining is actually just clarity, and you get clarity over time. When you have an idea, actually, you brought up Mark Zuckerberg earlier. Zuckerberg is the first person that I heard say this and articulated something that I thought. But if you actually look at it, the best companies in the world don't start off as, oh, I'm going to start this company. It actually starts off as an idea or a project that you're passionate about and you're mission driven about. And then that can sometimes evolve into being a commercially viable business. That was very much the case for us. Started this off with the podcast in 2018, and it has just evolved into what it is today. But if I would have tried to tell the story of who we are and where we're at today back in 2018, I wouldn't have even been able to do that, And then even like I look at some of my emails from like a year ago. Our story has changed so much from a year ago. But you start getting clarity over time as things progress, and you have better understanding of where the world's going, what your technology is, where it's applicable, where it's useful. And you sit there and you think and you tell people about it. And just over time, naturally, it gets boiled down into this really simple story that you hear me tell today. So it's not like I just came out of the gate, with that story nailed down. It's just a lot of time and effort out in the market to refine that story.
Yeah, you really got your shit together, bro.
I appreciate that.
I mean, in 2020, you were during COVID when we were starting up, you were hiring me like contractor wise, right? To like help out and edit some videos. And I'm like, like, what is this? Like, it's just another client, another project. I was a freelancer, right? So I was just like, I was not sold at all.
Yeah.
And now I sometimes think Collide is my own baby,
Yeah.
And that isn't like me being a simp. It's because you are like, you're just such a good founder, and all the people we've surrounded us with are just like incredible.
Well, I appreciate that. But also, you're our longest tenured employee, and to be able to work with me for 5-6 years now, like, is a testament to you and your work ethic. And like, when you say this is your baby, it is. You've been working on this for a long time, and you have so much ownership and agency in it. And like, you should have been skeptical of coming to work in 2020. Like, I didn't have any fucking money. Like, I committed financial suicide and put every dime I had into this business, right? And I couldn't even afford to hire someone like you full time. And there was no clarity in the vision of what it was. I just knew that, hey, if we produce content, something valuable will come from that. And I was willing to take a bet on that and eat that cost to invest in that strategy. And even today, like, we had our show and tell meeting last Friday, and you were sharing metrics across, our content and our social strategy and our user growth and Collide. And I was just sitting there thinking, like, how special is it that we're this leading AI company and we have this built-in media engine where we can ship content, and we do it so naturally. Like, it doesn't even feel like it's,
I don't even think about it.
Yeah. It doesn't even feel like it's some extra effort. It's just who we are. Like, we just use content and generate content. And that's really special. There's not a lot of companies like that out there. Like, I can't think of one off the top of my head that has that. And, that's just, again, that's from 5 or 6 years of doing it. And just having clarity over time of like, hey, who are we? Why do we produce content? What type of content are we producing? And it's just a superpower that we have. But, I always tell stories about, I'm always like, dude, I was like, Jacob will be out in the middle of a forest hiking and pull out his computer and start editing if he needs to.
I genuinely have done that.
Yeah, dude, you're a fucking workhorse, man. And that's why you've survived working with me for so long, because you match work ethic, and that's a hard thing to do. And so, you should be proud of yourself on that too.
Yeah. And we both did it while raising families. So
yeah, exactly.
Fuck off if you have excuses.
Yeah. That's a whole nother topic for some other time.
Okay. So kind of like wrapping up this section, like, another thing I just love about what you do is, we use Slack as our internal messaging. And like
Yeah.
every time you post, it's always like a banger. It's always something like motivates me.
Yeah.
Or you're like dropping some like memes or whatever, but like it's always like an announcement, or it's just like sharing something that you had done that day. And it's just every day you're boosting the morale
Yeah.
just with like these wins or even losses and honesty. It's just so awesome. And it's such a great tool.
Yeah.
And, I've learned in the last 5 years that like these other startups and even big companies, like they don't have internal messaging. They don't use these tools.
Yeah.
They fucking text each other or have like these stupid email chains. It's like,
yeah.
It's not even like, sometimes it's like, yeah, we're ahead of the curve, but like sometimes it's like, we're just doing what you should do.
Yeah.
Like when it comes to your startup Collide, like what are these tools that you should be utilizing?
Well, I think let's talk about the deeper thing in what you just said was that, kind of sharing messaging. Actually there's one job of a founder, which is actually the hardest job, is that you have to come and inspire people every single day and you have to set the tempo. And that sucks on some days. Like maybe you don't feel like like you are the person to set the tempo or be motivated. But one thing that I see in our company specifically is I get so energized when I'm out in the market talking to clients and I see that reaction from people. And so it's a big part of my job to distill that down to our team and share those wins and share what investors are saying about us or what clients are saying about us. And I think I have a pretty easy job of doing that because we just have a culture of winners here that want to win and everyone's motivated. So I don't have to come in every day and motivate everyone per se. Like everyone's already intrinsically motivated. But I do think that it's important to really, this is just part of the culture and part of being a leader is keeping that fire lit, because building a startup is a fucking grind and it can wear down on people. And keeping people motivated and understanding, the why, like what is our mission in doing this is really important. And, it's funny, like you say, it's like you go talk to other companies and like, they don't even have like simple things like messaging and things of this, like the things that we do that seem like common sense, you'd be so surprised how it's not common sense across many companies. Like I look at many companies and I'm just like, I don't understand how you guys operate. And, I think that communication is probably one of the most important things in life, not just in building startups. And we've been able to have a good system of communication and distilling down messaging and cultures and values in our team. And I think that we have a really transparent culture in company too, where hey, like sometimes it's not all rainbows. Like sometimes those messages are like, hey, look, we're up against a wall here and we got to overcome a feat. But having a culture where we can have those conversations and everyone feels like they're part of the solution and solving those problems is really important.
Yeah. The day-to-day stuff is just so inspiring. And I guess that is just not happening in other businesses. Something we do that's more normal is our quarterly meetings. We follow the EOS system, which if you don't know what that is, I don't feel like explaining it. But we get together every quarter and we talk and we set up goals in a way. And the EOS system has a creative and more formatted way of doing it, measurable, stuff like that.
Yeah.
We've implemented that maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
It wasn't that long ago, maybe 2, but there's 4 parts to my algorithm for building a high velocity company. The first one is talent density. And this is the most important element of it. And so what I care about is finding the best people in the world in their specific discipline, comping them extremely well. And what that allows you to do is to have a very small team that moves at a very high velocity. So, it's kind of counterintuitive because you're like, oh, I could go get this person and they're really expensive, or I could go get 3 people for the same cost. If you add 3 people to your organization, your productivity actually does not scale in a linear fashion. It actually regresses because now you have 3 average people. It adds friction in communication. It adds bureaucracy and layers in decision making. And so my goal here at Collide is to turn this into a $1 billion company with less than 50 people. And to do that, you have to focus on talent density and getting the best of the best people in the world. So that's the first part. The second part is identifying what is the important work, because when you're building a company like this, there is a never ending list of things to get done and things that seem important. And so to actually go through that and identify what is important is a real challenge. And you have to be able to say no to a lot of things. Steve Jobs has a famous saying, it's 1,000 no's for every yes. And people think that those are should be easy no's, but they're actually no's to things that you want to do and things that make sense. Like you need hard no's in there. And so that's the important thing, is identifying the important work, which this is where the EOS system comes in. We use a hybrid version of EOS, but honestly, using the EOS system is one of the best investments that we made. I think that we probably invested something like $50,000 to get an EOS consultant to come in here and help us implement the system. But essentially what EOS is taking many different learnings from quote unquote business leaders and actually productizing that and making it into an operating system. So the big part of that operating system is setting your annual and quarterly goals. And that's where we really get to determine, hey, what is the important work that we need to get done this year? And what is the important work that we need to get done in the quarter? The third part of my algorithm is aligning the team to execute on that important work. So everyone in Startup Land talks about speed, like speed. Speed actually doesn't matter, because you can all be moving fast in different directions and pulling against each other. What you actually care about is velocity. Velocity has a vector, it has a direction. You want to be moving fast and in the same direction. So not only does an operating system like EOS help you identify what that important work is, but it helps align the team to move in the same direction and execute on that important work. And then the fourth part is just ruthlessly removing friction. And that can be in process, it can be in people. It is very hard to build momentum in a business. And the second that you start seeing friction anywhere in the system, you have to cut that friction and remove it. And so that's really what it boils down to is those 4 steps, and having an operating system is really critical to being able to execute that algorithm. And so, whether it's EOS, there's other systems like OKRs, but OKRs are good for goal setting, but doesn't really give you the playbook to go execute on those goals. And that's why I liked the EOS system. And we've taken the EOS system and modified it a bit to fit our company. I think that we've outgrown the EOS system a little bit, but we still use the core tenets of it.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, you're just setting goals.
Yeah,
it's generic stuff, but when you get in the weeds of it, it's detailed. And
there's some more, there's some stuff that isn't generic though, like how we run our meetings. We're super time efficient in our meetings. We always have outcomes. In EOS, there's an issues list. When we first started, our issues list would be 50 things long. It was never ending. Now our issues list is maybe 1 to 3 things, and they're always resolved by the end of a meeting. And so, not to sound arrogant here, but I would say that our company is in top percentile of operational efficiency, and it's because we've gotten really good at running that system.
Yeah, I'll accept that.
Glad you'll accept it.
Yeah. Wrapping up this kind of talking points. There's 2 things. One, I brought this up in a quarterly meeting when you're going on a spiel like this, and it made me think people, the first thing you said was you pay them well out the gate and stuff like that. There's actually a paradox with employment where people work for raises and promotions and stuff. And then once they get it, they slow down, right? So right out the gate, you want to just pay someone well. And it isn't don't expect a raise now, but it's just starting them off, acknowledging their value right out the gate is a good way to put it.
Yeah. Well, I have this theory or this thesis that most businesses operate through the lens of what a private equity firm would operate at. And they look at G&A through the lens of an Excel spreadsheet, and they just see numbers in Excel cells, and they're not even capable of viewing compensation as an investment into their people. Businesses come down to the people that you have, full stop. And so if you can flip that and look at how much money you spend on your people as an investment into the business, I have people on our payroll that were very expensive when we hired them. Gives me a little bit of heartburn.
Me too.
And every single time I make one of those hires, 6 months later, they end up looking really cheap. And it's because the velocity of the company grew extremely fast. I mean, you even look at like, you know, I'll just give an example. We hired Jasmine. Jasmine is an amazing AI engineer, an expert in reinforcement learning. Spent time at Microsoft, worked on ChatGPT's reinforcement learning team while she was there. And you bring someone like her on, and all of a sudden, a month and a half, 2 months later, we have the best performing LLM in oil and gas. It's like, okay, well, you gain this velocity from getting the best of the best people, and you wouldn't be able to do that if you just look at building your company through an Excel spreadsheet and just seeing it as pure cost. And so I think that that's what makes things much different of how I view hiring people than the majority of businesses out there. Is like, I would rather go get the best of the best, pay them really well. Um, and one, that's going to attract them to come work with you, but then also make them feel valued. And then you get 10x productivity out of these amazing people. And now I don't have to go hire, bodies. And I don't have to, like, there's one thing is like, I will not settle for mid-level talent. It's funny. I asked one of our people on our team, I was like, hey, is there anyone from your previous company that we should go recruit from this? And he's like, man, the hard part about this is they don't meet the Collide bar. And that's what I want. It's like, I want such a high bar to come work here that that you're the best of the best to be here. And, you can only get that way if you kind of have this mindset towards hiring people and how you compensate them.
Yeah, and one thing you left out was just the domain expertise of your employees. Like, I don't even know if Jasmine comes from energy, but she's either learned or it's just, you picked the right person who was able to build the LLM based off this knowledge. Yeah. And then of course you're hiring people like Todd and John who do come from the industry. What is the importance of that?
Yeah, well, I think the beautiful thing is that we've been able to marry those two. So we have deep domain expertise in oil and gas. And so you have people like, Michael, who is a completions engineer for 20 years. You have Nick, who's a geophysicist, was at Chevron. You have John, who's a frac engineer. Todd, go down the list. But then on the other side of the coin, we have the best of the best in AI talent as well. And a team that doesn't come from oil and gas or have a traditional energy background, but you marry those two. And our tech AI team, what I really appreciate about everyone on our team is how interested they are in oil and gas, and they get into it and they're just fascinated by it. And so they're getting to apply what they know in AI to the industry. They're getting to learn from people on our team that have that oil and gas domain expertise. And on the flip side, the oil and gas domain expertise is getting to learn, like, our 4 deployed engineers, like, they're like, man, this is incredible that I get to learn from Mark and John Slow and Jasmia and Clay and Sam Texas. Like, it's the opportunity of a lifetime for them that they get to learn from such smart AI minds. And so, and that's hard to do. Like, last year I was in Silicon Valley and VCs didn't have faith that I could recruit the best AI talent. And now I go to Silicon Valley and they're like, how are you getting AI engineers from Seattle to come work in oil and gas? And so it's a really special thing that we have here, being able to get the smartest people from both sides and put them together to build Collide.
Cool. I think it's time to switch it up real good. I wanted to kind of get into more taboo topics. So
taboo.
Talking about whatever, right? So right now it's Christmas time, December 22nd. Clients slow down, we're slowed down, and there's a whole mindset to it. Do people desperately need a break from burnout, or is it time to get going on the next year? People have different thoughts about it. And so, like, what is your temperature check right now? Like, everyone's about to be out of half the office is gone tomorrow, and then we're off for like a week. People working from home, people are just going to completely turn off. Like, and you've done this, 5 years now. Like, how are you feeling current day about getting this break? Is it a good, bad, neutral?
Yeah, this is my favorite time of the year because, one, you get to look inwards a little bit and work on some internal things. I think what's been unique about this year is that things haven't slowed down. Up until Friday, a few days before Christmas, we're still in client meetings, we're still in investor meetings. And I love that. Like, I love, continuing the momentum and the productivity through the holiday season. If you listen to me where I talked about my 4-step algorithm, nowhere did I talk about hours worked or working hard. Honestly, like, hard work ethic's just kind of table stakes for me. Like, you have to be a hard worker to be anywhere in my vicinity. So that's just kind of like table stakes. But I think one thing that I've realized over my career is that you focus on the important work and the high leverage work, and then go put in all your time and effort into those things. When you start working people 100 hours a week, that's when they get burned out. But what's actually interesting about that is like if you're working on something meaningful, people will go put in those long hours and they'll never get burned out because they're actually excited about what they're working on. I see our engineering team sending messages sometimes at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning of things that they're working on. That's not mandated that, hey, you need to be up at 1 a.m. working 16-hour days. They're just doing it because they're excited and they want to accomplish that problem. And so I think that like naturally it's kind of like counterintuitive, but like you identify what that important work is and really articulate how meaningful it is. And people really accept it as a challenge to go put in effort on those things. And they're actually fulfilled and energized by it. And so, things this week between Christmas and New Year's, we don't take it completely off, but people work from home and it's like, hey, go spend some time with your family. Like, I think that that's important. And, I don't hold everyone to the same standard anymore that I have. Like, yeah, like I understood, like, I'm cracked out. This is what I like doing. I like spending all my time on this. This is my hobby and my love is building businesses. But understanding like there's a balance for that throughout, your employees and your team. But like, I think like what I like is I get high achievers that are mission driven and they just want to accomplish the goal at any cost. And, that comes in ebbs and flows sometimes. And it's worked out really well for us.
Yeah. I think, you have such an interesting take on just how you see these things. Like you also hate, remote workers, but the office hours, people can leave at 3.
Well, I hate remote work in general, which is funny considering that like half of our team is remote. We run hybrid. I got people in Denver and Oklahoma City and in Charlotte, and Austin
and Sweden.
My hate for remote work actually stays intact. Like I will choose
hypocrite.
I will choose in-person teams all day. There's nothing more powerful than a team around a whiteboard. And you even see this when our engineers come down to the office, they come down for a few days or a week out of the month, and there's just nothing that can replace that.
I took a video of Todd writing on a whiteboard and I was like, you literally look like stock footage of like people working in office.
Yeah.
Y'all are literally like pointing and there's like shapes and letters and numbers and like arrows. I'm like,
that's so funny.
Y'all are literally a business.
There's like the other day we were around a whiteboard and just had a revelation in how we structure our contracts. And I think that comes down to the communication piece. And like, it's just like, how easy it is for me to turn around in a chair and be like, oh dude, what do you think about this? Instead of someone being remote and like, oh, hey, are you available to get on a Zoom? And like, you have to go through that. Like, it's just so much friction in the communication process. And so like, still, if you ask me today, hey, would I want people in person? I will always pick in person. Now,
how do you cope with it?
How do I cope? Couple things. Like many things in life, I don't think that things are so binary. I think that there's always a right answer somewhere in between. And most of the reasons why our people are the people that we have that are remote were family related. So, someone's in Austin, they're divorced, their kids are in Austin. But I want them on our team. I know they are the right person on our team. What am I supposed to do in that instance? Like, no, you got to move to Houston for this. You can't see your kids. Like, no, have another employee that's remote. He's the primary caretaker for his elderly dad. Same thing. I want his talent on our team, but understand that. Another one that is remote. It's like, I moved away 15 years. My parents are aging. I want to be with them. I'm sympathetic towards that. My dad just passed away. How could I in good conscience tell this person, no, you need to be in Houston? And so there was this point in our company where it's like, look, I just need to get the best of the best talent and I need to make accommodations for them in that. Now I'm at a point, it's like, okay, I've kind of got my core team. Now I'm going to have a bias more of getting people here in our nucleus in the Houston office. So I've kind of switched back to that. But then the understanding of, hey, oil and gas is a worldwide industry and it's a remote industry as well. So in the near future, I'm going to have 4 deployed engineers in Midland, Oklahoma City, South America, the Middle East. And so we better learn how to work in this remote capacity because we're going to have operations all around the world. So anyways, this is just something. And like, I think this also determines by job function and company size as well. Like when you are a high growth, early stage startup, it is very critical that you have in-person FaceTime. Like you have to. The shit's hard. And you have to feed off that energy of your team and have that clear, frictionless communication.
And you did. Like I was the only virtual employee.
Yeah, for a long time. Yeah.
Like literally, yeah.
Yeah. And then I think that remote works better with some engineering roles and capacities because they know what they need to work on and they can just execute on it. And so as long as they're executing on those things and we're meeting our goals and our deadlines, everything's fine. But then if it comes to like the product team and like sales is like, those are a lot of things that we need to have that constant communication. And so anyways, I just have lots of thoughts on it. It's funny because like publicly, like I have been very anti-remote. And I think like where I was like really anti-remote is like at big tech companies, for instance, like dude, there became a lot of froth in the American workforce, a lot of entitlement. And when you had remote workers, like they're not most jobs are fake jobs anyways. And most people aren't doing real valuable work. And then now, they're not even willing to come into an office. And so that was where a lot of my hate for remote work was actually at like the big tech companies and things of that nature. But I've definitely softened up on it just in terms of how we operate and things are working out for us. So, what we're doing right now, it's working and we're going to keep running with it.
Yeah, agreed. I think you have a healthy view on all this stuff. Sticking with the taboo stuff though, people, you know how to cope with people being virtual, taking the holidays off, stuff like that. But what do you think the industry, just American industry culture in general, has a healthy normalization when it comes to time off, like vacation, maternity leave? Sydney's gone for 2 months. Mm-hmm. Like we have such a tight team, but you have a paradox where when one of them wants to go on vacation or gets pregnant or whatever, like you're kind of fucked, right? It's like, okay, this one person does all this work. Like they're gone for a week. What do we do? Right? Like, how do you work with that?
Well, a couple things. You should not be fucked if one person takes vacation.
Good advice.
This actually comes down to you probably don't have good process and systems. So getting to a point where you have good process and systems and one person taking vacation for a week doesn't fuck you is important. You asked more broadly about my thoughts on like how Americans treat holidays. I think that Americans are getting fucking soft, straight up. I think that we need to work much harder. You look at countries like China and Russia and India, like these are, and you see this, like immigrants that come to the United States are just much harder working than the average American. And I think that we've gotten fat, fluffy, lazy, and broadly speaking, I think that Americans have gotten really soft. Now, when it comes to my company specifically and the types of people that I like working with, yeah, I think like one thing that's great is like, people can go get time off and actually get time off and not have to worry about things because we have good systems and processes. One thing I appreciate is like, our office hours right now are 9 to 3, try to keep people out of that Houston traffic. But like a month ago, I had an issue Sunday morning at 6 a.m. There were 4 people from our company on a call with me within 5 minutes on their own doing, like them reaching out to me, sending me messages. And so that's a big part of our culture too, is stepping up and doing the work no matter what time it is or what day it is. And that's table stakes to me. That's what I expect. And so having a balance of that, but like, yeah, I think that like if we're talking on a macro level, I think Americans are soft. I think that we are in a lot of trouble if we don't embrace American capitalism and the work ethic that made our country great. Like those are what made the United States, but also understanding that, hey, you can build a company culture where people are happy and enjoy their work and enjoy their lives and where they're, I'll use Nick Smart as an example, comes here from Chevron. Nick told me that he's working 10 times harder than he ever worked at Chevron, and his happiness in life has gone up 100x. And that's the type of culture I want. I want people to be able to come here and work hard, but actually have their life improve across the board. And I think that that's achievable. I don't think that those two things are mutually exclusive.
That really hits with me, and it's something I've kind of noticed this year is that in our early years, I really was like basically a contractor. Even when I was on full time, I would basically work on random video ideas y'all had. I was so disconnected. I didn't schedule podcast. I had no like administrative back work.
Yeah.
I was an editing tool. And so I had lots of time. I feel like I had a week. Sometimes I would wake up Monday and have nothing from Digital Wildcatters till like the next week.
Yeah.
And I'm talking like 2020, 2021.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I was still working on, I'd kind of fizzled out contracting work and like taking on other clients, but I was still working on my own YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And I do a YouTube channel where I make city guides and geography stuff. It's a lot of fun. And I was so into it, and I would get into projects and write and edit. And then I would have to go and work for y'all and get a lot done. I would get so frustrated that I couldn't go back and spend time. Because I was following the rules. Like if there was something that needed to be done for you, I was doing it. I wasn't like moonlighting and splitting the 50-50.
Yeah.
That has fizzled out. I made one video this year on my YouTube channel, and that was in January.
Yeah.
So it's almost been 12 months.
Yeah.
And I'm not frustrated anymore.
Yeah.
The feeling I get for making videos for my YouTube channel is the same feeling I get for making content and keeping up with Collide now.
That's awesome.
So you've fully brainwashed me into that.
But it's
feeling.
probably, I mean, I don't think I've done anything. That's probably a derivative of you having more ownership. Like what you just brought up, like in 2020, 2021, dude, we didn't know what the fuck we were or what we were doing. And like, it was just like a random like video idea, every other week or whatever it might have been. Whereas now it's like, dude, you have clear mission and objectives and like know what you're building towards. And that's actually goes back to what my comment was earlier, is like, if you identify what the important work is and give people meaning, like that's how you actually have a happy life, in my opinion, is where you have something that you deem as meaningful work and you get to wake up and work on that every day, and you get to wake up and spend time with your family and do the things that you love outside of that as well. Like, you can't, like, dude, that's a better life than the majority of humans who have ever lived on the planet get to experience. And so, for me, I'm really grateful of that I get to wake up and work on the things that I want. And I want to create a culture where people feel that all throughout the team. And then I don't feel like you deal with burnout if you can get that element right.
Yep. Agreed. One more taboo topic and then we'll wrap it up. You're spitting facts though. This is good. I love this.
These aren't very taboo to me. These are.
Yeah, it's a dumb word to use, but I mean, the most taboo is what I will mention next, which is money. So there's like this fallacy of giving people raises and shares while being a startup. You're not a profitable company, and you may not be for years.
Yeah.
How do startups like raise money and then distribute that money? Like you pay your people well, but you have to give raises, you have to give shares. Like it seems so screwy. And what have you learned in 5 years?
It's not screwy. Like I said, people in your team are the most important part of a business. They are what make a company. And so the entire point of raising capital is to invest in that team. Now, this is also where it's important to understand that there's a difference between types of companies, types of financing structures. Like if I was to go start up a plumbing service business, pretty much everything I'm about to say here is not applicable to that. They're two completely different types of businesses, two different types of financing structures. But for a company like Collide, we look at this and we say, hey, look, we're going to lose money for several years. It's going to take a big capital investment to get the right people in here to build cutting edge technology, to build out a product that's proven in the market. And really we look at, okay, hey, what are those potential cash flows that come 15, 20 years out from now? And, it's almost like drilling a well. Hey, we're going to invest a ton of money up front to go acquire the land, to run the seismic, to drill the well. And we hope that a lot of oil is going to come out of it. Same concept as building a company like this. And so, there's a couple great books. One of them is called Scaling Compensation. really skinny book. I love it. It's all meat and potatoes, like no fluff in it. But it talks about how compensation is so much a part of your culture. And this is something that I don't think most people understand, is that compensation can vary so differently between all companies, because it's so much tied into culture. But for us, it's like, I want everyone here to make a lot of money and to get rich off of building this company. Like, that's my intention. I'm a capitalist, so it's what I want for everyone around me. I've kind of disconnected myself from financial outcomes. Like, I'm so mission driven that I just, even if I didn't make a penny off of this, like, I would still be happy, because this is what I want to work on. And I think that it's one of the most important technologies to build for the world. So I've disconnected myself from financial outcomes, but I want everyone around me to win. And the only way that you can do that is being thoughtful about compensation. And that's why we raise money, is because, hey, we need to get the best of the best of people here. And that takes money to do that. And so I just look at it as an investment into the company. And like I said, we wouldn't be doing the things that we're doing today if we didn't have the people that we have. And so, um, when it comes to being profitable, like, that's just part of our plan, is like, hey, we're not going to be profitable. We're going to lose money. This is why we need the balance sheet to be able to sustain that, to build up the right team, to build up the technology, to get the technology out to market, prove that it works, and then we'll generate revenue. And so that's why we raise capital, so that we have the balance sheet to be able to execute that and do that.
Boom. Last question mark. So I'm gonna go on a little tangent. Um, so I come from Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans.
Yeah.
And my whole life, it's like, oh, boohoo, poor you. Not like that, but like literal sympathy.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's always been so hard to feel bad, because my life is better. Like, Jacob growing up in New Orleans and Katrina never happening is a worser Jacob than today. My New Orleans is just, everyone has an opinion about it, and it's what you can assume. The schools aren't the best, and the culture there is eccentric.
Mhm.
Where I could have just grown up to be some like guy working at a grocery store, addicted to drugs, whatever. Seems like a higher probability, especially where I was.
Yeah.
But instead, we moved here. My parents both got their same jobs, but better. And then my mom went on to go work for TPH. And I went to better schools that are still some of the best districts in the country to this day, and so on, right?
Yeah.
And so there's this irony of tragedy creating opportunity.
Mhm.
And I would say Digital Wildcatters and Collide had the same thing starting up in COVID. So to wrap it up, like, what is your overall perspective of the last 5 years, and where would we be without COVID?
Well, I think on a deeper level, like, luck and timing play really big factors in life that sometimes people don't attribute all the credit that they should. And it's never lost on me how fortunate I am and how luck and timing have played into my life. Just like you. Like, yeah, butterfly effects are weird, man. When you look back, like, honestly, humans, they're like, there's a few events and decisions in your life that make up your entire life. And I doubt that you would have been just some guy working at a grocery store. Like, I think that you would have created something for yourself, but that path would look so much different if a hurricane didn't push y'all out into Texas, right? I think about this all the time. Like, dude, I actually used to get a lot of guilt. Like, I'd go to a restaurant and, there's some guy, like, working as my server. And I'm like, man, they're not making that much money. Like, I'd have a lot of guilt for me being a 19-year-old making a shit ton of money out on a drilling rig, that I just happened to grow up in Midland, Texas and have that opportunity. But over time, what I learned is that most people, even if they had access to that opportunity to roughneck on a drilling rig, wouldn't do it, because it's fucking hard. And to make that money, you had to work 100 hours a week and risk your life for it. Like, most people just wouldn't do it. And what I've seen about luck and timing is that you got to increase your surface area. Like, you have to work hard to put yourself in those lucky spots and to capture that luck. Like, yeah, cool, dude. You got moved here to Houston from a hurricane, but you still had to work hard, and you had to learn skills that put you in the position that you are in today. Like, full stop. Like the only reason that I met you and I had an interest in you is because I thought you were one of the best video editors in Texas, and you worked hard to teach yourself that. And you're taught off of YouTube. You had the agency and initiative to go learn that. And then you refined even more over time. That's all you. That's your effort. That's your input. So yeah, it's easy to think like, hey, you got lucky on a life break and got moved to Texas and all this, but at the end of the day, you're still the one that capitalized on that. And so there's a balance in thinking there sometimes of being grateful for the opportunities that were presented and the timing and luck, but also there's an idea of you control the inputs, and that's the only thing that you can control in life, and you need to go put in the effort on those inputs to get lucky and capitalize on that timing. And that's not lost to me in this business. It's like, yeah, we had so much luck and timing, from this great crew change to software and AI, but also I was there putting in the hours to see those trends and put us in that position to get lucky. And so there's a balance of that. And I don't think that those things have to be mutually exclusive. Like I think that you can have pride in ownership in what you do and what your personal effort is, and also humble and grateful for the opportunities that you were able to capitalize on. And so, that's an ever evolving thought that just kind of gets derived from wisdom of living in the world and seeing things. But, what I'd always encourage people is to focus on the things that you can control, the inputs, and gaining skills, meeting people, building your network, working hard. Like this is one thing that you'll see me like, yeah, some people think that I'm a, hustle porn, hard work, hardo on Twitter. But dude, if you come from nothing and you don't have a safety net and you don't have those opportunities, like it is on you to go create those opportunities and that quote unquote luck. And so, that's always my overarching advice to people is to focus on those inputs. And yeah, you want to hope that you catch a lucky break. You need some lucky breaks in life, but you have to create that luck yourself. And we've been lucky to experience that.
Damn. I'm future me is pumping his fist as I bust out all these clips on social media. you are an actual modern day Gary V without the bullshit.
Without the bullshit. I appreciate that. Well,
yeah,
dude, I appreciate you. I appreciate you as a person, and I'm very thankful of our relationship and getting to work with you over 5 years, coming up on 6 years now. And, I just forever grateful for the skills and ability that you bring to the team. So hopefully, we have a lot more of those years ahead of us.
Hell yeah, man. Thanks for coming on, and thanks for letting me trick you into a free therapy session.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
All right.
Cool.